In the small town of Arvorito Antigo, surrounded by high mountains and golden fields that changed color with the wind, lived a young man named Raphael. He was no different physically from other people, but inside him there was something that set him apart from everyone else, a constant search for answers that no one could explain simply. From childhood, Raphael asked questions that made adults uncomfortable. Who is God, really? And who is Jesus? Are they the same person, or are they different people? Her mother always responded affectionately, "Son, God created everything. And Jesus is his son." But that answer never seemed sufficient to him. The more he grew, the more his mind filled with doubts. At school, the teachers talked about history, science, nature, but they could never explain what Raphael really wanted to know. He would look at the night sky and feel something strange in his chest, as if something much bigger existed, silently observing everything. He was not afraid of God. He was curious, and also a void. At 17, Raphael began to distance himself from religious conversations. Not out of rebellion, but because he felt that no one could explain it clearly. One night, after a hard day, he walked alone to a hill behind the city. The wind blew gently, and the sky was full of stars shining, as if telling ancient stories. Raphael sat down on the grass and looked up. "If you really exist," he whispered, "show me who you are." Silence answered. But it wasn't an ordinary silence. It was a heavy, profound, almost lifelike silence. The wind stopped. The sounds of nature have disappeared. And then a light began to appear on the horizon. Raphael stood up, startled. The light did not come from a star, nor from the moon. She came from everywhere at once. The sky opened up as if it were fabric being pulled. And before he could run, everything disappeared. When he opened his eyes again, Raphael was no longer on the hill. He was in a completely different place. An endless field stretched before him. The grass was golden, but it didn't shine like ordinary gold. It seemed alive. The sky had colors that changed slowly, as if it were breathing. The atmosphere conveyed peace, but also something indescribable, authority. Raphael took a few steps forward, confused. "Where am I?" A voice answered behind him. "You're where the answers begin." He turned around quickly. A man was there, dressed in simple clothes, yet brilliant in a way impossible to explain. His eyes were not just eyes, they seemed to hold infinite understanding. Raphael felt he shouldn't be afraid, but his body was trembling nonetheless. "Who are you?" The man smiled slightly. "Someone who was allowed to appear to you." Raphael swallowed hard. "Am I dreaming?" "No." The answer was too direct, and that was even more frightening. The man began to walk slowly, and Raphael felt he should follow him. "You want to understand God," the man said. Raphael stopped. "Yes, I want to, but nobody can explain it to me properly." The man looked up at the sky, and then everything changed. The sky opened up as if it were an invisible door. Raphael saw something impossible. The birth of stars, the formation of galaxies, planets emerging from the void, oceans being drawn like ink on an infinite canvas, mountains rising as if the earth were breathing. He fell to his knees. This is creation?" "Yes," said the man. "It all started with God." Raphael looked up. "God? Did he make all of this?" "He not only did it, he stands by all of it now." The vision continued. Raphael saw the earth spinning in space. He saw people being born, living, crying, smiling. He witnessed wars and also embraces. He witnessed moments of joy and sorrow simultaneously. And he felt something strange, as if every life was being watched closely. "God is not just power," the man said. "He is origin, sustenance, and purpose." Raphael was having difficulty breathing. "So he is everywhere. He is above all, and within all." The young man remained silent for a few seconds. Then he asked the question that really mattered. "And Jesus?" The man stopped walking. This silence was different, deeper, more seriously. "That's the part that confuses people the most," he said. Raphael approached. "Then explain it to me." The man looked directly at him. "Imagine a king so large that no one can see his face directly. His presence is so intense that anyone who looked at him fully would be unable to bear it." Raphael listened attentively. This king decides something impossible. He doesn't want to be separated from his people. The situation began to change slowly. Now Raphael saw a small, ancient city. Simple houses, ruins, ordinary people living their lives. "So the king decides to become human," the man continued. Raphael saw a woman holding a baby. And then he understood. "Jesus was born here," the man said. Raphael froze. "The Creator turned into a baby?" He entered into the creation that he himself formed. Raphael felt a deep shiver. As they walked through the city, he saw Jesus growing up, working with wood, smiling at children, helping poor people, listening to people ignored by society. But there was something about him, a peace that seemed not to belong to this world. Jesus didn't just come to talk about God, the man said. He came to show who God is. Raphael remained silent. That phrase struck a chord deep within him. The man continued. When Jesus healed someone, it was God touching that person. When Jesus forgave, it was God showing mercy. When Jesus loved, it was God revealing himself. Raphael began to understand something, but not completely yet. Then a new scene emerged. A crowd. Sick people. Blind. Paralyzed. Jesus touching each one of them. And each touch changed lives. Raphael was impressed. This is not just power. No, said the man. It's character. Then another scene followed. A violent sea. A boat nearly sinking. Jesus raising his hand. And the sea obeyed. Total silence. Raphael felt a shock in his chest. Even nature. Because creation recognizes its creator. The man then looked at Raphael again. Now you have seen God as power. And Jesus as the manifestation of that power in love. Raphael took a deep breath. But something was still missing. He felt that the story hadn't yet reached its most profound point. And then the man said, "What you haven't seen yet will change everything." The sky began to darken. And Raphael understood that the next part wouldn't be about power. It would be about sacrifice. The sky, once golden, began to darken slowly, as if time itself were changing its mood. Raphael felt a weight in the air. It wasn't ordinary fear, but a feeling that something deep and painful was about to be revealed. The man beside her continued walking in silence. His steps were calm, but each movement seemed to carry meaning. "Now you will see what most people cannot understand," he said. Raphael swallowed hard. "What?" The man didn't answer immediately. He just held out his hand. The situation has changed. Raphael was now in a silent garden. Ancient olive trees swayed gently in the wind. The sky was dark, almost starless. There was a tension in the air, as if creation itself were waiting for something to happen. In the distance, he saw a figure. Jesus. Kneeling. Alone. His face was wet with sweat and tears. His hands trembled as he prayed. Raphael felt a tightness in his chest. "Is he suffering?" The man replied, "He is carrying something that humanity cannot see." Raphael took a step forward. Jesus seemed torn between pain and determination. It was as if he were fighting against an invisible, crushing weight. Suddenly, voices emerged from the garden. Soldiers. Lanterns. Swords. Raphael was startled. "What is happening?" "The betrayal has begun," the man said. A man approached Jesus. He kissed his cheek. Raphael understood immediately. He was betrayed. The man simply nodded. The soldiers surrounded Jesus. He did not resist. He did not flee. He simply looked at them with sadness and peace at the same time. "Why doesn't he run away?" Raphael asked. "Because love never runs away from its purpose." Those words were like a gentle blade piercing Raphael's heart. Jesus was taken away. The situation has changed again. Now Raphael stood before an ancient court. People shouted. False accusations were leveled against Jesus. He remained silent. "Defend yourself," they shouted. But he did not answer. Raphael felt indignation. "That's not fair." The man replied calmly, "True love doesn't always seek to defend itself. Sometimes it chooses to endure." Then the pain began. Raphael saw Jesus being whipped. Each blow made his body tremble. Blood was flowing. The crowd was mocking. And yet, there was something in Jesus' eyes. Compassion. Raphael fell to his knees. "That's cruel." The man placed his hand on his shoulder. "The burden he carries is not merely physical. It is spiritual." Raphael didn't fully understand, but he sensed it was something far greater than ordinary human suffering. The situation has changed once again. A hill. 3 crosses. The sky was completely dark. The strong wind. And the silence before the final pain. Raphael froze when he saw Jesus being placed on the central cross. Nails. Blood. Pain. The creature seemed to be holding its breath. "No," Raphael whispered. Jesus was lifted up. And at that moment, the world seemed to stop. Raphael started crying without realizing it. "Why? Why is he going through this?" The man replied in a low voice, "Because there is a separation between God and humanity caused by sin, pain, and the rebellion of the human heart. Raphael was trembling. And does that require that? Love has found a way to restore what was broken. Jesus looked up at the sky, and he said in a weak voice, Father, forgive them. Raphael felt something break inside him. Is he asking forgiveness from those who are doing this to him? The man nodded. This is the level of God's love revealed in Jesus. The sky grew even darker. An earthquake. Absolute silence. And then a final breath. Everything stopped. Raphael collapsed to the ground, emotionally devastated. He died. The man remained silent. The world seemed empty. The sky without an answer. Hope seemed to have vanished. But then, after a moment of profound silence, a light began to appear. Weak at the beginning, then intense. The situation has changed. A tomb sealed by a huge stone. Raphael felt his heart race. It's not over. The man simply said, Observe. The stone began to move on its own. A light burst from within. And then, the tomb was empty. Raphael opened his eyes in shock. He isn't there. A vibrant presence filled the room. And then Jesus appeared. Vivo. Glorious. Full of light and peace. Raphael started crying again, but this time it wasn't from pain. It was astonishing. It was hope. That was life. The man said, the cross revealed God's love. The resurrection revealed God's power over everything, even death. Raphael breathed deeply, trying to understand everything he had seen. So, Jesus wasn't defeated. He conquered what no man can conquer. Raphael looked up at the sky. Something inside him had changed forever. But there was still one last truth to be revealed, and she would explain everything he still couldn't put together. The man said, Now you will see what God truly desires for humanity. And the sky began to shine again. The light that appeared after the resurrection was unlike anything Raphael had ever seen. It wasn't just brightness, it was presence. The air seemed lighter, as if reality itself had been restored. Raphael was still on his knees, trying to process everything he had seen. The cross, the empty tomb, the suffering, life again, everything mingled within him like a sea of emotions. The man beside her began to walk slowly. Now you'll understand the purpose of all this, he said. Raphael looked up. I've seen power. I've seen pain. I've seen love, but I still don't fully understand. The man stopped in front of him. Then, come. The situation has changed once again. Now Raphael was in a vast, open place, illuminated by a soft light that did not come from a single source, but seemed to be everywhere at once. Before him lay a crystal-clear river, so pure it seemed to reflect infinity. The man pointed to the water. What do you see? A river. And what does he remind you of? Raphael thought for a few seconds. Life, movement, something that never stops. The man nodded. God is like the source of this river. Infinite. Eternal. Without beginning and without end. Raphael watched the water flowing. And Jesus? The man smiled slightly. Jesus is that water reaching those who are thirsty. Raphael felt a chill. Something inside him was starting to fall into place. The man started walking again. Many people try to separate God and Jesus as if they were too different, he said. Others try to ignore one of them. But the truth is, they are not in conflict. Raphael followed every word. So why does it seem so difficult to understand? Because the human heart tries to limit the infinite. These words remained silent within Raphael for a few seconds. Suddenly, the scene changed again. Now he could see the world. Millions of people. Some are smiling. Others were crying. Some are praying. Others lost. Raphael felt a tightness in his chest. They are suffering. They are searching for meaning, the man replied. Then different scenes began to emerge. People being comforted. Families forgiving each other. Broken hearts being healed. Young people finding hope. Men abandoning violence. All of this is connected to one single thing, Jesus. Raphael watched in silence. Does this still happen today? The man replied, What you saw is not in the past. It continues to live on. Raphael took a deep breath. So Jesus wasn't just an ancient story. He is the bridge between God and humanity. These words touched Raphael's heart deeply. The situation has changed once again. Now there was a great space of light, and in the center, a majestic presence. It wasn't possible to look directly at it. Raphael immediately fell to his knees. Is this God? The man replied, The holiness of the Creator. Raphael felt small, insignificant, but not rejected, just faced with something infinitely greater. Then something surprising happened. Next to the light, Jesus appeared. the same presence that he saw at the cross and at the resurrection. But now there was no pain. There was peace. And immediately, Raphael no longer felt fear. The man explained, God is holy, infinite, just, but he is also love. And Jesus reveals this love in a way that man can understand. Raphael started to cry. So God was never far away. It never was. The man led Raphael to a large tree. Its roots were too deep to be fully seen. The trunk was strong. The branches touched the sky. What does this represent? The man asked. Raphael observed. Something that connects everything. Exactly. The man pointed. The roots are God. Invisible, eternal, sustaining everything. The trunk is Jesus. Visible, accessible, close to man. Raphael remained silent. Now everything made sense in a way he had never experienced before. The man continued. When Jesus healed, it was God acting with compassion. When Jesus forgave, it was God showing mercy. When Jesus loved, it was God revealing his heart. Raphael took a deep breath. Everything inside him was changing. It wasn't just understanding. It was a transformation. The sky began to shine even brighter. The man looked at Raphael calmly. You've spent your life trying to separate what was never truly separate. Raphael lowered his head. I thought I had to choose between understanding God or understanding Jesus. But now you understand that knowing one is knowing the other. The scenery began to slowly disappear. The field of light, the river, the tree, everything began to dissolve like mist. Raphael felt his heart tighten. Am I coming back? The man nodded. Yes. But you don't come back the same. The last thing Raphael heard was, God is the creator of all things. Jesus is God's love revealed to the world. And then everything disappeared. Raphael woke up. I was on the hill again. The dawn sky was beginning to lighten. The gentle wind touched her face. But he was no longer the same. His heart was at peace. His mind was clear. And his doubts had disappeared. He stood up slowly and looked up at the sky. Now I understand. And for the first time, there was no confusion within him. Only certainty. That morning, Raphael returned to the city and began talking to people. Not with debates. No arguing. But with something different, with understanding and peace. He said, God is not distant. Jesus showed that. And those who listened to him felt something different. Because it wasn't just an explanation. It was an experience transformed into words. And so, the truth that Raphael discovered in that encounter remained alive within him forever. God is the creator of everything that exists. Jesus is the love of God walking among men. And between them there is no separation, there is revelation.